Hello, it's me, September. Welcome to the top 10 Linewriter tracks of 2024, the 9th annual installment of this series, presented by the Linewriter Artists Collective. As a reminder, if you just want to watch the tracks and don't want to listen to us talk all over them, click on the link to the playlist of tracks without commentary in the description, or in that weird little title card corner thingy up there. This year, we had a panel of 22 judges and 12 reviewers, so that's pretty incredible. Also, please note that this video contains intense visuals such as flashing lights and graphics that may induce motion sickness. For a complete list of content warnings, you can also check out the video description as well as the description for the playlist of the top 10 tracks. And let's get started! We're counting down!
Number 10, Rush E3 by Xavi LR.
Rush E3 is a track that knows the power of play, and that's fitting because Xavi LR continues to be one of the most playful Linewriter creators. Featuring a number of incredible animations which seem to interact directly and physically with Bosch, Rush E3 continues to ramp itself up both in sheer detail and visual experimentation throughout the runtime of the track. Though the first 2 minutes of these interactive animations would, on their own, be enough to make this an impressive and thoroughly enjoyable experience for the viewer, what really makes Rush E3 stand out is a surprising switch to 3D animation, some gorgeous fast-paced editing, and a full fight choreography to cap it all off. Aside from the visual effects, the contents of the track revolve around a dozen distinct homages to a series of late 2000s viral videos and games like Animator vs. Animation and Plants vs. Zombies. It manages to effectively capture this specific time and subculture of the internet, without feeling like just nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia. However, while Rush E3 does seem to be attempting to say something about the ways in which we interact with nostalgic media, what that statement exactly is does remain unclear for the viewer. With all that said, Rush E3 is a visual masterpiece, one whose best moments come while also pushing forward the frontier of what can be done with Linewriter, managing to simultaneously be both experimental and accessible. Above all, it is tremendously fun to watch, and in dark times that is a quality that becomes all the more precious.
Number 9, Transphobia by William017. William017 is a relatively new Linewriter creator who has released a series of tracks in a brand new, wildly experimental track-making style throughout 2024. My personal favorite out of these tracks is Trustfall. Trustfall explores the negative effect bad mental health has on physical health by taking the viewer through a gradual progression which steadily grows more and more disturbing. At first, William017 depicts a bloody nose, then bleeding gums, and then these video-edited glitches that visually seem to tear apart the writer. And all throughout the track, we repeatedly see the writer fall each time underscore screams Trustfall, giving off the impression that the writer herself is crying for help, a plea which gets more desperate as her physical health worsens. This slow progression gets more and more terrifying without any signs of getting better. That is, until we reach an eerily calm forest, where we are revealed the source of this deteriorating physical health. A dissociative numbness permeates this desaturated landscape. Bosch's movements are static, disconnected from the environment around her. And honestly, this is probably the best depiction of dissociation that I've ever seen in Linewriter, as it perfectly resonates with my experiences of being surrounded by nature, yet still feeling an odd distance from the world around me. I want to be closer to nature, but my body doesn't know how. Thankfully, Trustfall lets me know that I'm not alone. If all of this resonates with your experience, then I suggest checking out this track and see how it affects you.
Number 8, Sympathy is a Knife by Instant Flare. Instant Flare's work has often been balanced on a razor's edge between emotional sensitivity and avant-garde abrasiveness. But never has that precarious balance been brought into such an intense focus as it has in Sympathy is a Knife. Set to the Charlie XCX song, Instant Flare is able to capture that all-too-brat sensation of having an absolutely terrible time at the club, mixing inventive music sync techniques with a scratchy art style that feels like it has been carved into the flesh of the background canvas. And that's not an unintentional choice, as Sympathy as a Knife unflinchingly takes on the difficult subject matter of its music, depicting a conflict between Bosch and a self-destructive internal voice. Instant Flare takes us through the consequences of such a toxic inner life, including self-harm, substance abuse, and suicidality. But some of the best moments in this track are entirely abstract. Clouds of scribbles which hide the song's lyrics alongside fragments of negative self-talk. Then, the camera suddenly zooms out, and we see the scribbles themselves form words which absolutely dwarf Bosch in scale. My personal struggle with depression and suicidal thoughts came in the form of an unhealthy need to ruminate on my feelings and experiences, where all the components of my inner life were fuel for a poisonous form of metacognition. Sympathy as a Knife depicts these feelings with startling resonance, and doesn't feel a need to wrap them up with a bow into a happy ending or an it gets better. It knows that simply and truthfully depicting that toxic form of self-reflection is enough, giving us space for the catharsis of being seen and understood.
Number 7. Denmark, Van Gogh and Gone by Melisma. Melisma has always been fascinated by music visualization, as demonstrated by his other releases this year, such as the visually stunning Neverender and the quirk-heavy 11. Through his technical skill and code writing, Melisma has built a unique track-making style, highly suited to electronic music synchronization. Denmark, Van Gogh and Gone, however, is not a track synced to energetic French electro bangers. It is instead a meditation on the experience of art. The track opens with the camera panning across the line rider rendition of Minet's Banks of the Seine. Bosch's movements begin as slow and contemplative flat sled, steadily evolving to the dynamics of the music. Melisma explores weightlessness as he controls the tension and release of the track by manipulating gravity, letting lines sweep in close to Bosch but allowing them to fall away. The surreal, transcendental nature of the music is heightened as Melisma pulls the skin of Bosch away from the outline, capturing the immersive sensation of art consumption. Then, as the lines close in, we are thrown into what I can only describe as the distilled colors and emotions of painting and music, mixed into a physical and enormous line rider environment, Melisma expertly guiding us through a thunderstorm of dissolved paint. Melisma Van Gogh and Gone is special because it asks us questions like, what does music look like? And how do I feel looking at this painting? Then explosively hammers in the answer. This is what I see, this is what I feel, and all the while I say back, yes, this is exactly what it's like. I lose all my bones, I lose all my skin, and I feel like I can float.
Number 6. Something Comforting by Autumn 538. I like Something Comforting, the song by Porter Robinson, for its perspective on the hardships of personal growth, but also for just being a really sonically pleasing EDM track, and I feel a similar way about Something Comforting, the Line Rider track by Autumn. Visually, it's full of precisely synced movement that matches the moment-to-moment texture of the song, most creatively in the drops, where the rider is sped up and slowed down using 10-point cannons to match musical bursts of energy alongside several dazzling, colorful music visualizations. While the movement and visuals are nice on their own, we increasingly begin to see how the lyrics relate to Autumn's life and experiences as the track progresses. She visualizes the, quote, signs that you needed to change as literal signs which imposingly loom over the track, emphasizing how the thoughts written on them, specifically her experiences questioning her gender identity, distress her. And as the rainbow squiggles from the first drop shift into sketches in the second, we come to understand Autumn's personal connection to the music, with drawings that depict the anxiety and dysphoria she once felt as she considered taking HRT and socially transitioning. It culminates with a message of self-love from Autumn addressed to her former self using her dead name, to whom the track is dedicated. This heartfelt message reminds us how even though struggle can feel unrelenting and seeing ahead is difficult, part of the journey is taking a step back and seeing how far we've come.
Number 5. Breakfast by Porta Neva. Porta Neva is a new artist who, in their first month of releasing tracks, showcased the best use of dismemberment in Line Rider ever. The way Breakfast immediately confronts us with a multi-directional splitting rider effect feels huge and revelatory, harkening back to similar ideas in Anton's Surrender and Melisma's Van Gogh and Gone. But unlike these tracks that remain and end in the fog of their dissociations, it's how Porta Neva gently encourages us back to reality that makes their track special. In sections set to the song's verses with lyrics that consider fleeing from society, Porta Neva moves the rider in spirited little frenzies that convey both franticness and hesitation. But then, in a gentle yet intense musical build-up, the rider's parts drift to the edge of the screen, dancing in and out of the margins as animated lyrics about vulnerability and finding safety fill the void. From here, Bosch comes back to reality, stops disassociating, and slowly reassembles themselves. And the result feels magical, hopeful in an uncomplicated way. Though ego death can be a powerful and transcendent experience, Breakfast reminds us that we can't stay in the fog forever, and eventually must come back to the people and the beautiful mundanities of our lives. Coming from one of Linerider's most promising new artists, Breakfast makes me particularly excited about the potential for Linerider's community to re-emerge from a period of extended collective dissociation. Linerider feels alive and connected again, and somehow it feels like that all starts here.
Number 4. It's Time to Give Up on Being Human by UTD. It's Time to Give Up on Being Human explores what it means to fail, to give up on everything you once thought you knew. The start of the track is absolutely grueling. As Bosch nearly fails to move, the camera suddenly zooms out, revealing the words, "Nobody sees you struggle." Throughout this section, we're also presented with this vision of normal life, where the people move effortlessly across a college campus. Clearly, this is not an option for us. But the track is not over, just as our lives are not over. Instead, Bosch falls off the sled and they give up on this vision of a normal life. As we fall further and further, something shifts. The visualizer that follows captures the feeling that at this point, anything is possible. There's no more track to follow, just the staggering realization echoed in the lyrics that you can be something else. Coming down from this high takes us to the ending of the track. We're shown a waterfall, and then pan over a landscape which coalesces into a rainbow, cutting off abruptly on just 2 words. They're perhaps the most beautiful 2 words I've ever seen written in Linerider. You are. You are nature, the waterfall, the river, the land. But also you are. As in, you don't have to be anything, you already are. And lastly, as an unfinished sentence, you are. And you decide where you go from there. Giving up has given us the freedom to just be. As someone who dropped out of school due to disability and neurodivergence, this track spoke deeply to my experiences. I have cried over this track for actual hours. It's my favorite track of the year, and it affirms why I love Linerider so much. Through this art medium, UTD is able to challenge deeply rooted narratives about what a normal life even is. And personally, I can't wait to see where they take their untethered, limitless possibilities next.
Number 3. My Red Little Fox by Branches Jade.
As a sophomore in college, I often find myself wishing for a less turbulent experience of life. One without the bubble of the academic sphere, without the building-laden skylines of the city, and without the sense of alienation from the space around me. My Red Little Fox speaks to these anxieties. As Bosch travels through abstract and partitioned scenes of nature, we are led to contemplate the compartmentalization of our lives, catching a quick glimpse of somebody stuck in their bedroom, or framed within a building, gazing longingly out a window. However, My Red Little Fox does not let us dwell in these worries. As the track nears the halfway point, night falls, and the borders of these monochromatic memories increasingly begin to blur together, until finally, in a moment of clarity, they meld into one another entirely, becoming a beautiful and unified dream. Bosch, now a fox, offers us a vision of a world without boundaries, as she dances and leaps effortlessly across the screen, silly and joyous and free. As the autumnal scene comes to a close, Branches invites us to reflect on how structures govern us, what arbitrary lines we may draw in our lives, and what our true desires may be divorced from the noise of our routines, all the while continuing to draw on her unparalleled capacity for expressing queer narratives, evoking the sublime, and connecting us to notions of home and place.
Number 2. Everywhere at the End of Time, Stage 3, by Andrew Hess. Stage 3 of the Everywhere at the End of Time series sets us at the point where every chance to remember becomes an opportunity to forget. In this 46-minute line writer opus set to the Caretaker's album of the same name, Andrew makes his boldest creative choices yet to illustrate how it feels to be on the precipice of losing everything before dying. Familiar images return from prior stages, but now transformed, flickering through levels of detail and colliding into each other in fragments. Other visual techniques that further the track's instability, like compositing or filming the screen with a meat-space camcorder, are used to full effect. The environment that Andrew has previously crafted meticulously disintegrates before us and before Bosch, leaving only bare track lines behind. However, Stage 3 is also deeply referential to other line writer tracks, demonstrating cogent tethers to tracks like Galyabao's Bailey or Chugger's Yahoo. Stage 3 forgets itself by remembering older tracks so fondly, tracks which, as a newer person in the line writer community, I had only heard of before watching Stage 3. And perhaps that's the forgetting then. The representation of the fading memory of a track-making style, one that tries to be remembered but will never live on in quite the same way. My connection to Andrew's Everywhere at the End of Time series is inalienable from my relationship with my grandfather, who died in June of 2024 after living with dementia for several years. What memories I have left of him are few and feeble, but precious. And while it's inevitable that eventually those memories will all burn away, Stage 3 has helped me understand that despite the horror, there's still something beautiful and profoundly human about this loss, too.
And the number 1 track of 2024 is Change My Name by September Hoffman.
I told Jesus.
Hey, are you trans? Why? Why are you like that? Don't answer. You don't need to explain to anyone. Not to your parents, not to your doctors, not to Jesus. All you need to know is it will be alright if you change your name. September is no stranger to connecting religious themes and transness in her art, but Change My Name is particularly empowering as a radical display of trans resilience. The track immediately greets us with September's dead name, a bold move in a world where trans people's names are often used against us. September immediately takes control of the situation, and what follows is a conversation with Jesus depicted as a cloud with an eye. The writer, representing September, pleads with him to change her name, to which he continually responds with various rebuttals that echo transphobic arguments of the people who are supposed to help us, the people we are most reliant on, our parents, our doctors, our spiritual and political leaders. September, however, is utterly defiant in the face of these arguments. She embodies a sort of trans resistance, harnessing the powers of Google searches and the sheer force of her desire. Jesus' arguments take a scary turn. The political becomes personal, and the divine rain cloud cries, "I gave you that name, how dare you change it?" In response, September stops asking questions and starts making statements. She asserts that she will change. She has changed. Her gender, her place in life, her name, and she never ever tries to justify this or explain why. Change itself is the end, not the means. Through a caring musical conversation with Roberta Flack's 1969 recording, Change My Name allows space to reflect on historical intersections of Black and trans resilience, particularly in the US, where our communities are currently experiencing an onslaught of racist and transphobic legislation and rhetoric. Change My Name presents a powerful and hopeful message at this time. It tells us, let the world turn away. Let them try to stop us. But they will never be able to keep us from changing, from existing as we are, because we are an unstoppable force.
And now, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Warning, this claim is not backed by statistical data. The judge's choice! Each judge had the opportunity to select an additional track from the past year that they personally connected with, and to provide a short audiovisual submission that engages with the track in whatever fashion they wanted. And this year, we're turning the judge's choice up to 11, because there were 11 judges' choices. Here they are. Enjoy.
Fire has the power to warm you, but it also has the power to kill you. And this is also true for the people in your life.
Leashed Line is probably the most divisive track on this year's shortlist, but I am in the camp of loving it. Critics say that this track is a waste of 6 years, but for me, the track isn't a result of painful labor, but rather of meditation. I love knowing that every line is drawn by hand, because I can imagine the creator sitting down after a long day to draw and escape into this line writer world. An escape is what this track is. It's a place, overflowing with nostalgic, childlike science fiction and nonsense, all expertly and beautifully illustrated.
It's incredible how differently we see things. I mean, someone could say this is a special place, and another person would say it's just a bunch of stones, and a third person would say, actually, this is a dangerous place, and throw the stones off the cliff. But I didn't want to think about things falling anymore. Suddenly, for the first time, I saw a bird jumping off and flying instead. It was an incredible sight, seeing my brother's arms outstretched again, embracing the sky, his face smiling like the sun.
No creator makes the line writer canvas feel quite as vast and boundless as infinity. In their track I Do, this vastness echoes the uncertainty of the future, while frantic movement and live draw scribbles set to a Patricia Taxxon song feel like a cathartic expression of anxiety transforming into bold persistence. It coalesces into a strangely hopeful, hypnotic, 7-minute experience. You should check it out. Also, do you think trans masks are valid, Patricia? Because I do. Get it? I do.
So the thing that I like about Boy Who Cried Art is that it's like we're in this circle and we're trapped, but we're going in the circle and then out of the circle and then around the circle, and in the end we just walk out. Like you can just leave. It's a track about how you can just leave, which is such a strong artistic choice. I mean, it's like the skeleton meme, like just walk out.
In Time was my personal favorite track of 2024, and that's in large part due to the very meditative and aesthetically experimental way it explores concepts of time and longing and memory and being transformed by growing up. It's awesome. Go check it out.
Frou Frou Foxes in Midsummer Fires is elegant and beautiful, with strong color choices that evoke an almost tangible sense of temperature and material, but it's also a cheeky entry to the first line writer detective competition, with charming imitations of other trackmakers' styles and personal imagery.
For me, 2024 was the year of the worst heartbreak of my life so far. Nothing helps but this track. Maybe it helps a little.
Personal Protocol is a celebration of the average person dancing, and it's so fun that I notice myself dancing every time while sitting down and watching the track, like I'm dancing with the track. Here's what I mean. It is time to dance! Don't wanna know what it could have been no more. Don't wanna know what I should have been there for. Keeping secrets from me again for sure.
As part of the judging process, we decided not to include multiple tracks by the same creator in the top 10. We call these eliminated tracks. For more details on this process, you can check out the detailed report linked in the video description. This year, we had 7 eliminated tracks, one of which was selected for a judge's choice. This means that this year, we have 6 honorable mentions. They are Line Writer is a moving medley of Jade's experiences within the line writer community, full of lovingly rendered scenes and choreography that is somehow simultaneously cheerful and heartbreaking. September Hoffman's Puzzle Space, a massive open-world ARG made in linewriter.com consisting of over 200 line writer-themed rebus puzzles that explores niche trivia as a means of connection, celebration, and community. September Hoffman's Apostat Commander, an explosive epilogue to puzzle space that deals with grief, morality, togetherness, and the meaning of art. September Hoffman's In the Absence of Comfort, an astonishing exploration of scale that transforms the line writer canvas into a 3D Rainbow Road-esque universe, placing our little lives and feelings in the context of galaxies. Autumn Rue 538's Unfold Comforted, a reflection on Autumn's growth as a line writer artist in the past year that slowly transforms into a reflection on Autumn's growth as a person, underscored by a wide array of stunning visual moments. And finally, Autumn Rue 538 and Bevabel's Hinds Hall, a powerful political statement on the genocide currently happening in Palestine and the United States' complicity with that violence. Using evocative and powerful illustrative scenery as a corrective to our current moment of political indifference, Hinds Hall is a protest track that will ask you to confront your current biases. One last thing we'd like to do this year is celebrate some accomplishments and community contributions to LineWriter that were not necessarily in the form of LineWriter tracks. These people and projects contribute significantly to the richness of the LineWriter community and deserve to be celebrated. Here are the people whose contributions we'd like to celebrate this year. The LineWriter Roundup has been going on since 2021, and in that time has provided the LineWriter community dozens of reviews and has been a forum of public discussion of LineWriter art. Thank you to Bevabel for creating the LineWriter Roundup, and to Jade, September, and Bevabel for running the Roundup at various points throughout 2024.
And Autumn in 2025.
The LineWriter Roundup's newsletter page will be linked in the description. Another person who deserves special mention this year is Melisma and the work he's done developing LineWriter, creating mods, new game modes, and brand new features in the main LineWriter branch that have created new possibilities within the medium of LineWriter. Developers of LineWriter are a fairly rare bunch, and the work they do is deeply important to the preservation and furthering of LineWriter and its community. Thank you, Melisma! If you want to support his work, a link to Melisma's Ko-Fi will be in the video description. In 2024, Pock created a tool that let him convert LineWriter tracks into Geometry Dash, including the movement of the writer. This tool, besides being a really interesting and cool technical project, also helped contribute to the promotion of LineWriter and facilitated the creation of several pieces of art which blend LineWriter and Geometry Dash elements. It's a fascinating experiment, one that's worth highlighting and celebrating. And finally, shoutouts to Jade and Moon Explorer, who each made their own individual LineWriter Best of 2024 videos. The diversity of the LineWriter community's opinion is a valuable aspect of it, and it's really cool to see other people making personal top 10 videos. So links to their personal top picks will be in the video description as well. And that's it! Thank you for watching our picks for the top 10 LineWriter tracks of 2024. It means a lot. 2024 was an amazing year for LineWriter, and we're excited to see where it goes in the future. Please go check out all of these tracks in the playlists in the description, and also check out our documentation of the judging process to see all the other tracks that were nominated. While you're there, feel free to buy us a cup of coffee on Ko-Fi if you want to support us. And if you're interested in joining the LineWriter Artists Collective, there's an application form for that in the description as well. Thanks again for watching! It's done! It's over! It's over! I'm telling you, get out of here! I'm dying because you're not leaving the video! Okay, please add the sound effect of children cheering.